I land my last job without showing my portfolio on my Figma. No, I didn't hack the system. I just understand that recruiter, they don't buy a portfolio. They buy a person. Hello and welcome back. Today, I wanted to touch base on something that I find very useful for us designer. How do we phrase our life into a stories for job interview? So yeah, we all think during the job interview that it's look at my beautiful prototype and my user flow and my UI design. It's wonderful. It's well thought. But you know what? The guy in front of you, he heard like this story 50 times this week. What he will remember is your interface, but not you. How do you solve this problem to be memorable? Not your portfolio, but you. So I know what you're going to say. It's like a LinkedIn coach, like you're going to say in this video. Okay, I was a bit extreme saying your portfolio is not useful or you don't need it. It's not completely true, but I saw so many designers with excellent skill be just like dismissed and not getting the job because they didn't know how to explain their process and their life story. In the opposite, I saw designer with less experience getting the job just because they are good at telling their story. The thing is, nobody teach us that at school. It's always like make a beautiful portfolio and you will land a job. But they never talk about building a narrative. It's how do you tell the story in your portfolio? If you're using the same layout, the same template, mental template in a way of every portfolio, it's boring. And it doesn't explain how do you handle a conflict, what impact did you create? It's just telling, okay, this person know the design thinking process. Cool, bro. What else? In this case, your portfolio will be only useful as a decoration. When you say, I did user research, it doesn't activate anything in my brain as a recruiter. But when you say, I spend my after work in the train with the user, try to understand why they use our app the way they use in the transportation. Now I can really visualize, I can really project myself in your story of taking the subway after work just to identify and observe your user. And a good story is always made of three things. It proves your competence without telling him. It also shows your personality. And it's memorable. It stays really engraved into the brain of the recruiter. Because, spoiler alert, the guy in front of you, he doesn't care about your skill in Figma. He just wants to answer these three questions. Does this person fit to solve my problem? Does this person will be well integrated to the team? Does this person has a growth mindset? Is this person is able to learn from his mistakes? And you know what? All these three questions doesn't show in your portfolio. Most of the time, it's not tell in your portfolio. So how do you build a good story? I always use the STAR method, which is the context, the constraint, the task, the action, the result, and the reflection. Okay? So STAR, situation, task, action, result, reflection. Context, the constraint, your role, what was your role exactly in this company, what did you do exactly, and the impact. Okay, and at the end, the self-reflection. So give you a real example. Situation. We had a very bad conversion rate in our checkout. So my task was, as the only UX designer, was to identify the problem. So my action was to install Hotjar, analyze 200 sessions, then run a quick user test. The result, we discovered that 70% of our users drop at the payment step. And we chose to simplify the flow. And we went from 12% to 28% conversion. Reflection, I learned sometimes that the solution is to remove, not to add stuff. The common trap is to tell only the result. I work on that, and the conversion rate boosts by 50%. Cool story, bro, but we are missing your process a little bit. So how do you identify the real problem? What choice did you do and why? How do you prioritize? How did you collaborate with your colleagues? Instead of I redesign the dashboard, you can say our users spend percent of their time on 3 features. But there was really just not visible because there was too much stuff going on the dashboard. So I challenged the PM, and with our assumption, we did card sorting with 12 users, and we proposed a new design with 2 levels. The front, the most essential feature at the front, and the detail in the drill down. You see, much more easy to follow. This way, I have my task, I have my action, my reflection too. A good story, it's always a little bit juicy. Not everything go well, and it's sometimes better to talk about your failure. If it's too perfect, it's boring. If the hero just land at the end of the movie without any trouble, that's not interesting. If Luke never met Dark Vader, it's just a boring story. There's no fight, there's no failure. And it's because he has a failure that the success is much more interesting. So tell me, how do you bounce back when you have a failure? For example, on my first big project, I designed an interface that was beautiful. I really spent a lot of time on the UI. The developer and the PM love it. But at the first user test, it was a complete failure. User hate it. They didn't understand nothing about this interface. So I have 2 choices. One, to fight for my design or listen the user. I choose to listen. And we redo everything. The final design was less sexy, but 3 times more efficient. This story works because I put my ego on the side. I did an ego check and I reflect on myself, my capacity of adaptation, and my focus on the impact. Now I want to pause a bit and I want to talk about a game changer, the catchphrase that change everything when you're doing a job interview. It's your professional signature. In one sentence, what is the value? What is your life story that you can bring to the table? Why it's very important. So it's really framing. You frame the tone of the interview right from the get-go. It helps to focus. Every time you have to describe something, you come back to the sentence. It stays in the head of the recruiter because on the 10 candidates that they're gonna interview today, they're gonna remember you because you really plant the seed with this sentence in a way. And at the end, it really transformed the interview from question answer to a more conversation. How do you build this catchphrase? My catchphrase is I create bridge between the business and the user. I like to bring people together. That's a very easy sentence, a very easy catchphrase to remember. That's my catchphrase. And that's true. That's truly who I am. That's something deep in my core. I like to connect today with this video, design event, for example, all kind of situation where I like to put people together. And even in my personal life, I connect friends that I never met before with a very different background. If you decompose, you have the action, the input, and the output, okay? I'm gonna give you other if you want to pick one of them. But again, it has to come from you. It's your personality. Couple example. I translate user need into experience that converts. Okay, pretty good. Another example. I transform complexity, technical complexity into intuitive interface. I like this one. It's pretty actionable. You see clearly what is the input and what is the output. Another example, I reconcile business objective and user need. Keep in mind, if this sentence can apply to any designer, that's too generic. That's why it has to be personal. It has to reflect your life story again. So technically, how does it work? I'm going to give you a fake job interview. Hello, I'm Michael. I transform user need into business decision by bringing people together. And I cannot wait to tell you how I do that. Then I tell 2 or 3 stories maximum using the star structure. I always close by saying that's the reason why I connect people together. You see, I'm doing a loop. I opening with a sentence and I closing with a sentence. It's simple, it's memorable, and it's authentic. So to close on this video, your portfolio open a door, but your storytelling need to close the door. Find your catchphrase, and you can do a reality check with your friends. You can ask them, if you have to describe me in 3 words, what will be? That will be very insightful to build your catchphrase, because it's really who you are, and that's you, unique. You're not a generic designer, a generic template. Practice, of course, your catchphrase in front of a mirror with a friend. And remember, the interview is not an exam. The more you practice your job interview, the more you become comfortable. And it's a conversation between 2 professionals, not a Q&A again. And it's a way to see if you can work together well. At the end, we want to work with people who are nice and interesting, not people who look the same. What is your catchphrase? Drop it in the comment below. It will be interesting, and we can talk about how we can improve our catchphrase. And if this video helped you, share to your friends, designer who has a hard time to find a job in this industry right now. Let's try to build a nice community where we can help each other and where we can really support each other. Okay? See you next time. But in the meantime, I like to bring people together. What is yours?